So here's the racing mower go-kart in its current state, and I actually wasn't going to make any update videos on this until it was finally done. And I'm not going to be able to do that because of budget shortfalls. It's going to take a little longer than I expected to put it back together, but I can get it most of the way back together. Few changes have been made. First being right here, you can see these tie rods are a little different than the old ones. Here's the old ones, or one of the old ones. These are right-handed thread on both sides, so you can't actually adjust the alignment with these tie rods, which kind of sucks. You have to unbolt one whole side and spin it a couple times and then bolt it back down to change your alignment. These are tubular, and there's a left-hand thread and a right-hand thread, so you can actually spin the tie rod, and these will expand and contract similar to a car or like a turnbuckle, like a piece of hardware. So yeah, that'll be a lot easier to deal with in the long run. You can see right here, this is just a locking collar for the steering once that's all in. But I put a rubber, kind of a rubber radiator hose type thing, or a heater core hose, and I slid it down the side. You can see on the back side there, it's cut away. And I wrapped it around the steering shaft, so when the steering functions all the way around, it strikes the rubber, not the paint and not the black anodized metal of the tubular tie rods. I've decided to keep the dashboard. A lot of people like the diamond plate dashboard when I mentioned getting rid of it in the last video, so we are going to keep that. I've been trying to fix the hood to try to accommodate it because the hood was chopped off and it looked like Swiss cheese and it was terrible. So right now the hood's away getting sandblasted so I can have it back and painted, which is actually what is setting me back on this project. The first person that sandblasted didn't sandblast it, he used a grinder on it. He ground down all my rivets and didn't touch the inside of the hood, which is what I specifically wanted, so he kind of screwed me over, so I had to send it somewhere else to get redone. Here on the chain tensioner, not much changed. There was a proposed idea to change it to one of these acrylic wheels that I got from BMI. This is actually a specific chain tensioner, but I didn't really like the idea of it. Once I had it in my hands, it just, I don't know. This appeals to me more than this for some reason, and this is actually considered the norm. This is what people typically use, but I would have had to refabricate a whole mounting bracket and spring assembly to use this thing, and I didn't really want to get into that after having painted the frame, so we're just going to set that aside and keep using this original setup until it fails me, which I don't really see happening anytime soon. I reinforced this front section with pieces of flat steel before I painted it because I thought it was a little flimsy. It's really strong now. Down here there was a stopper, this black piece you see going across. That was a piece of cold rolled steel welded to the bottom, and it actually still is. It's just got a piece of rubber hose attached to it now, and the reason that's there is so when this comes down and collides with the rubber, it's not marring up my paint on either the limiter or the painted head of this bolt. You can see the rear axle is now in, the rear brakes and the sprocket. The rear brakes are probably the only thing that's permanently set. The rear axle is also permanently set, the distance and everything. I had a few people wondering why I didn't just chase out the threads on this old axle. I didn't really show you this that well, but I mean, you can see the threads are kind of screwed up there. They're all rounded over. And I mean, yeah, you could probably chase the threads or have them retapped, but the truth of the matter is this thing's going to be doing 50, 60 plus miles an hour. I just want to make sure everything is perfect, especially on the rear axle. I don't want a wheel falling off for any reason at all. So yeah, that's the only reason I kind of bought a new axle. This one seems really nice, although the keyways are staggered, which is strange. My old one, the keyway ran from one side, you can see right there, right to the other side. This one only goes 3/4 of the way. You flip it, and the other one comes in and overlaps it, just barely. So that's kind of weird. Here on the footrests, you probably can't really tell through the video, but I've actually used what they call truck bed liner. You can see the gritty texture right there. And the reason I did this is because it's a rubbery, really hard coating, made for feet, made for scuffing. The original intent of these was going to be to paint them the similar body color, you know, to match the body. And this mesh here is going to get painted to match the body, and that's still the case for this. I just haven't gotten to body painting yet. I'm going to do that all at once. So this, I just, you know, it was going to be a maintenance nightmare painting this the color of the body and then having it scuffed every time you put your foot on it. So we did truck bed liner. Seemed like a good idea. We'll see how it holds up. It should be pretty maintenance free, and if it's not, then it'll be easy just to spray a little bit more truck bed liner on top of that to make it look good. And check this out. This is the racing lawnmower seat, and this has been reupholstered in black leather, and the guy that actually did it redid the stitching with like a red stitching just to give it a little bit of you know, an offset, just so it wasn't black stitching. It's kind of hard to see with the sun, but it's very mellow. It's just so it's not all black, and he put brass fittings back in instead of the silver, which looks pretty good. This seat came out awesome. I am super excited about it. I am really impressed. He does great work. He had to use the original outside edge of the original seat because you can't bend leather that way like this one was, so he kind of Frankensteined the two pieces together. But that's fine because you're never really going to see that bottom edge, especially when this thing is sitting on the ground as low as it does. But here's the guy that did it. S&L Upholstery. You know, you can see right there, he does pretty much everything. But yeah, he lives in Augusta, Maine. Took him a couple weeks to get this thing back to me, but he did it at a decent price, and I couldn't be happier with it. So yeah, he also actually re-padded the foam underneath. It's a much denser foam than it was before, because the old foam was for low-speed tractors and stuff. Now this has got like a much stiffer, firmer foam in it, so your ass won't hurt as much when you're cranking down the road in the racing mower go-kart thing, whatever you want to call it. And here, under my workbench, resides the GX200 clone. Let's pull that baby out of there and talk about that thing for a minute. So here it is, Honda GX200 clone. This is actually a Harbor Freight blue Greyhound clone. It just has a black cover on it because in shipment, the person that sent it to me packed it in newspaper, and it ended up actually rolling around in the box and smashed the whole front cover in and kind of destroyed the blower housing and the recoil and everything like that, so I had to get a new one. And that might have also been the reason I actually recently discovered, messing with this motor after I'd taken it off, there is a lot of shaft end play here. I don't know if you guys can hear that. The other thing I could hear is this. Yeah, that doesn't sound so good either. I mean, a little bit is not so bad, but what I've actually done already is opened up this side cover and tried to see what the play is. And as far as I can tell, the connecting rod is tight, and obviously you lose your bearing seat once this side cover comes off, but it appears to me that there is a lot of space between the teeth of the crank and the teeth of the cam. So something isn't machined 100% quite right. Now my original plan was to actually modify this clone motor to upwards of 12 horsepower. I think factory is like 6.5, or is what they estimate, and it has like 7 or 8 pounds of torque. And there's quite a few things you have to do to get it to a safe, reliable point, especially being a clone motor. Genuine Honda GX200s are built with tighter tolerances and higher quality parts than the clones. That's why the clones are so cheap, is because it is a clone and it's made cheaper. So basically when you modify these clones, a lot of the things you actually are supposed to do when you start changing things like connecting rods and all that stuff, people always say, well, if you've got the piston out, you might as well throw in a genuine GX200 piston and the wrist pin and snap rings. And you might as well use genuine GX200 valve train while you're at it, and all this other stuff. So when you start cracking these things open and trying to make some power out of them, you start realizing that you're essentially replacing all the parts with genuine Honda GX200 parts, which isn't necessarily a big deal because those blocks are kind of expensive. So, you know, to each their own. If you want to do that, then by all means do that. Lots of people do and have great success with it, and, you know, lots of people mod the factory clone parts and have pretty good success with it. Also, something else that was holding me up on the build is the fact that I'd have to buy all these parts, which is not a big deal. Parts aren't that expensive. I would have to buy a bunch of tools to actually put the thing together, like plastic gauge, the hone tool, probably a ridge reamer. I don't have one of those, a piston ring compressor, and I mean, I'm sure there's a couple other things I can't really think of right now, but I mean, there's a few things you need to assemble it that I don't really possess because I don't usually work on engines. I typically just build chassis and stuff. So yeah, that's pretty much why we're not going to build the clone. I am going to use the clone. I'm just going to use it on something else, and I am going to actually modify it a little bit. But first, I got something else I want to show you guys. Alright, so if we're not going to use the clone motor, what are we going to use? So sitting here in the corner of my garage is a very large box marked Fragile from NR Racing. Now, I haven't actually opened it yet. I just flipped that flat back just because I didn't want my address, you know, being all over YouTube. So we're going to open this puppy up together and see what's inside. Now, like I said, I haven't actually torn into this box yet. I really wanted to over the past few minutes, but I was going to do it on camera. It looks like they sent me a little LED flashlight as a thank you, which I guess that's the least they can do considering how much money I just spent. Whoa, we got stickers and some of my payment information, which I'm not going to show you guys. Now, when I ordered this motor, I ordered it to be dyno tuned, and I'll be damned if they didn't actually send me the dyno sheet for the motor. It looks like peak torque is around 15.25 pounds of torque at 3,000 RPM, and peak horsepower is 13.67 at 5,500 RPM. Stickers, those are pretty cool. Can never have enough of those. Oh, let's see what's in here. New air filter. Cone style. That's a big freaking opening. I mean, look at that. Here's my knife. You guys know what utility knives look like, right? Look at the size of this opening. It's just ridiculous. There's no way that I could possibly need that much air. Oh, what the frig? They sent me two. Now see, they didn't say this thing came with an air filter when I ordered it, so I ordered an air filter, you know, thinking I was being smart. Apparently I ordered an extra air filter. Oh my god. Do you see that down there? Oh my god. Let's get it out of the box. Oh, jeez. That is just ridiculous. The governor's removed. Imagine it doesn't have any oil in it. They even gave me an exhaust gasket too. That is awesome. Sweet. Let's set this down before I break it. Let's get a closer look at this thing. That's who built it. It's got the air filter adapter already on it. Now I get two air filters, I guess, so I don't know what I'm going to do about that. I'll probably put just a breather on this because I don't really need any sort of fuel pump. You can see right there. Genuine Honda GX. Friggin' A right. So yeah, you're looking at a very happy, fearless front. Like I said, I spent a lot of money on this motor. I'm not even going to tell you guys how much, so don't even bother asking me. It's just a stupid amount of money. But in the long run, it'll probably be worth it because this thing is going to shows, and this thing needs to work and just last forever. So, genuine Honda all the way. I hope you guys like it. I'm pretty excited. I got to do a lot of work now. I got a lot of things I can do. Of course, I'm going to take you guys on the way. I'll do some videos. We'll see if I post them up before I do a final unveiling or not. Still up in the air on that one. If you guys bother me enough, maybe I'll do a couple more updates before it's finally done. But let me know what you think. Hopefully you guys liked the video. I'm getting to work, and we'll see you next time.